I don't know if you've ever asked the question how to boil a frog. I don't know if you eat frogs. I don't, but this is a kind of a cool picture. You see this? This is the life. I love a good soak. So how do you boil a frog? That's the question. If you try to put a frog into a boiling pot of water, what does the frog do? Jumps right out immediately because it recognizes the danger. It's obvious. But if you want to boil a frog, what you do is put a frog in a lukewarm pot of water. And what will that frog do? That frog will just kind of lounge about, swim happily. This is nice. And then you increase that temperature of the water incrementally, 1 degree at a time, until the water is boiling. And what happens to the frog? Croaks. It's the slow progression of death. It's the slow, you know that full-fledged sin, just like outright obvious sin in someone's life, doesn't really ever start out as full-fledged sin. It just starts off with a little glance, a lingering glance. It's I'm walking, and then I stand, and then I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here for a while. And all of a sudden, death, destruction, the path of the wicked creeps into your heart. I shared this message with our staff on Tuesday. Sometimes I do that at our staff meeting. I'll just share what I'm going to share on Sunday. And I got to this point, and my note said, it's a slow compromise towards death. It's a slow fade towards compromise. The glutton tells themselves it's just one donut. Well, wouldn't you know that our children's director from our arcade campus brought in a whole box of donuts that day. I'm just like, hey, I got to go with it. You guys are the gluttons. It's just one donut. The greedy person tells themselves it's just one pair of shoes. Ladies, it could apply to anybody, but maybe it's you. The addict tells themselves it's just this once. It's just this once. What is it? It's the slow progression of compromise. Walk, stand, sit. And I'm going to allow that person's influence to dictate my life. A godly life, in contrast, avoids those points of influence that have the potential to drag them down. And rather than allowing those points of influence to dictate their life, they grab onto an objective statement of truth. They grab onto an anchor. And the Bible tells us what that anchor is in verse 2. Verse 2 says, but his delight, and here's the anchor, is in the law of the Lord. And on his law he meditates day and night. The Bible says that the Bible, God's law, is the anchor. When your life is changing every single day and new circumstances and situations come in that get your emotions to go up and down, you start worrying about this and that, God's law is the same yesterday, today, and forever. It's the one thing that will anchor you when everything else around you is changing, including yourself. You know, the truth is you could probably talk yourself into just about any type of thing. You could probably talk yourself into just about any type of sin, which is why you need something to anchor your decision making.